Jag heter Josephine Nellerup och jag är planchef på stadsbyggnadskontoret i Malmö och ska idag försöka ge er en bild av projektet Norra Sorgenfri. Och så får vi se om vi tillsammans kan sätta in det här i sammanhanget om kulturdriven stadsutveckling. Men vi behöver börja med vad vi befinner oss i, läget. Vi är ju i Malmö, i Köpenhamn, Malmöregionen, i Öresundsregionen där tillväxtkraften är en väldigt spännande dynamik. Där vi inom en 10-årsperiod har 4 miljoner människor. Det är en utmaning att vara där och vara den drivkraft som tredje största stad i Sverige och skapa de möjligheter som det här läget innebär och ta vara på de möjligheter och de krafter som finns på den här platsen. Det är en utmaning när vi har den tillväxt på bostadsmarknaden som vi har. Det är inte alltid som vår tillgång på bostäder synkar med vår befolkningsökning. Vi har också en spännande befolkning där vi har 30% av oss kommer utanför landet. Vi har 174 språk och många kulturer som möts. Och en särskild utmaning i att hälften av oss är under 35 år. Den dynamik som händer när människor möter varandra i just Malmö är väldigt speciell och lockar många människor, för här tror vi att det omöjliga är möjligt. Och den kreativitet som finns här är unik. Det vi också har med oss in i vårt arbete när vi jobbar med stadens utveckling handlar ju om de sociala frågorna. Om de segregationsproblem som finns i vår stad eller integrationsmöjligheter mellan människor och mellan geografier. Där Kommissionen för Malmös sociala hållbarhet pekar på hälsa, välfärd och utbildning. Det är viktiga frågor också i vår omvandling och förnyelse av staden. Det handlar om rättvisa, det handlar om möjligheter, det handlar om våra barn som ska känna att det omöjliga faktiskt är möjligt. Att jag har rätt att vara. Kopplat till Nelson Mandelas citat här på morgonen. Det är liksom essensen av varför vi är här. Och i detta ska vi ju då arbeta med våran utveckling utifrån en hållbarhet. Där våran översiktsplan är ju grunden, våra planeringsförutsättningar, våra guidelines för hur det här nu ska ske. Där vi faktiskt behöver hantera våran tillväxt och våran ökande befolkning på ett smart sätt. Så att inte vi ökar våran geografi med 3 gånger. Vi behöver bygga staden inåt. Hantera våra resurser på smarta sätt. Det handlar om att vi behöver hushålla med våra resurser. Konsumera mindre energi, ha smarta transporter och faktiskt använda redan i anspråkstagen mark istället för våra +10 jordar. Så det är en utmaning att reorganisera våra förutsättningar. Och om man då börjar närma sig Norra Sorgenfri så är det ett läge i vår stad som passar väl för detta. Utifrån att det är redan anspråkstagen mark, mycket rivningstomter som vi kan få igång nytt liv i. Det är också ett centralt läge där vi har gångavstånd till mycket, cykelavstånd till det mesta och förutsättningar för en väl utbyggd kollektivtrafik. Där vi får hållbara resurser på bästa sätt. Idag är det ett industrilandskap där ingen bor, men många arbetar. Det är 2000 personer som arbetar där, 300 av dem i kultursektorn. Men också en yta där vi har mycket rivningstomter, byggnader i väldigt dåligt skick som inte mår särskilt bra. Och frågan är hur mår de om 10 år? Det är också ett område där vi har en del kriminella och sociala problem. Och Det är också ett område som är speciellt utifrån en utvecklingsfråga. Därför att Malmö stad som äger 60% av marken i vår kommun här äger väldigt lite. Våra utmaningar här handlar också om att samarbeta med väldigt många olika aktörer som ska ha en gemensam agenda. För att vi ska klara vårt befolkningstillväxt och våra bostadsbehov så är tanken med det här området att vi ska kunna fylla det med 4 000 arbetsplatser, 5 000 boende. Samtidigt som det här också ska vara en integrerad del av våran stad och vara en plattform för att människor som aldrig mött varandra förut kan träffas och utbyta kreativa tankar och idéer och skapa liv. Det är väldigt många olika förutsättningar som de här fastighetsägarna har. Alla de olika förutsättningar som de verksamma har. Alla ni som är en del av våran stad och våran utveckling som ska ta det här området i besittning och ta det till era hjärtan och fylla det med ett spännande innehåll. Stad bygger ingen ensam. Vi gör det tillsammans. Och den ambitionsnivå som finns är ju hög. Malmö har en väldigt stark ambition för hur vi ska utveckla vår stad. Med nyckelord som mångfald, variation och småskalighet. Tillsammans med att få Industrigatan som en nerv från Rosengård in till centrala Malmö. Vad är det som finns kring den gatan och som gör att vi integrerar oss med resten av staden? Det handlar ju om våra bottenvåningar. Vad fyller vi för liv i verksamheter i våra bottenvåningar? Vad får vi för liv som spiller ut från våra byggnader ut i våra nya sociala rum? Istället för rivningstomter, de parker, platser, stråk som skapas. Som vi får allihopa ta i besittning och göra spännande saker på. Vad är det för verksamheter vi tillsammans skapar i de här bottenvåningarna? Vad finns det för möjligheter i detta? Culture planning eller kulturen i vid bemärkelse, vi människor som ska integreras med varandra och vara interaktiva tillsammans. Är ju en jätteviktig fråga att hantera i en stadsutveckling. Där vi tillsammans skapar förutsättningarna för detta. Där vi tillsammans är en del av utvecklingen. Där vi också behöver ta med oss de påverkan som det ger i att jobba med kultur och konstnärer och arkitekter och designarkitektur i ett sånt här område. Som också visar att vi får vara olika. Att vi får vara här tillsammans. Att också ta hand om de konstnärer, de 300 som finns i det här området. Men också ge tillgång till nya att få vara här och ta det här området i besittning. Vi har ju inom ISU också en kulturkarta som Clara kan berätta mer om. Men det är ju en väldigt spännande bit i det här arbetet där alla aktörer har tillhandahållit platser som vi får ta i besittning. De självständiga oberoende organisationer eller var och en av oss som vill göra saker i det här. Som vill medvetengöra den mentala förändringen från industrilandskap till stad. Vad vill vi fylla det med? Hur vill vi ha vår demokratiska process? Hur vill vi att det här ska ge för intryck? Det finns platser här som vi får ta i besittning. Ni är välkomna och det skulle vara väldigt roligt om vi kunde få igång många olika aktiviteter och de verksamma och våra fastighetsägare, de längtar efter att få igång det här. Både när det gäller temporära och permanenta aktiviteter i det här området. Vi behöver också hantera det som är vår historia. De industribyggnader som vi behöver vara rädda om i detta. Och båghallarna är ju en sån, men det finns också många fler som behöver fyllas med nytt innehåll. Och det gäller ju också att det är rätt innehåll. Att det är den där spänsten och dynamiken som gör att det är tillåtet att tänka fria tankar. Från en storskalighet i de strukturer som finns där idag, där vi kanske inte riktigt är tillåtet att vi är på alla platser, till ett mycket mindre nät här borta, där vi från industrimark får nya parker, nya torg, nya mötesplatser, nya sociala stråk och möten. Här är det någon som ska födas, växa upp, leka och bli kär för första gången. Vad är det man har med sig när man växer upp i ett sånt här område? Och varför ska vi alla andra vara här? Vi som inte kommer att bo där. Vad finns det för dragningskraft i ett sånt här område som gör att jag vill vara där ändå? Och det här är ju otroligt långa processer. Det här är ett område som är lika stort som Malmö centrum. Det här är ingenting som förändras över en natt. Och vi behöver också hantera någonting som handlar om successiv stadsomvandling. Med de tillfälliga lov som inte får förlängas på grund av hur lagarna ser ut. De byggnader som nu behöver restaureras för att de faktiskt ska hålla ihop. Till de kreativa idéer som finns kring hur man kan utveckla de här olika delarna. Det finns en successivitet i detta som vi nu jobbar febrilt för att komma och kunna förverkliga. Och att också ha med sig vår unga befolkning, de där 200 000 i Sverige som ofrivilligt bor kvar hemma. Att placera en bomässa för unga, en arkitekturtävling för ungas byggande i Norra Sorgenfri är ju också att pröva sina tankar i ett annat perspektiv. Där 61 000 unga har fått säga sitt om hur jag vill bo. Och blir det någon effekt av det då? Blir det något resultat? Ja, detaljplanarbetet tillsammans med Riksbyggen utifrån ett av de projekt som ingår i Ungbo hoppas vi ju kunna genomföra här ganska snart. Tillsammans på brännaren utifrån de diskussioner och processer och program som finns inom Ungbo. Tillsammans med de kulturbyggnader som finns där. Istället för en byggnad där det regnar in, som är brandskadad, som är farlig att vara i. Som har en jättespännande historia med allt ifrån tillverkning av mediciner till mjölkningsmaskiner. Så gäller det ju att vi också tar med oss historien från dåtid, nutid och framtid. Vad vill vi ska hända på de här torgen? Vad vill vi ska hända i de här bottenvåningarna? Och hur präglar vi som bor i Malmö och i de här nya kvarteren våra liv? Till kvarteret Spårvägen där detaljplanen precis är antagen med de dryga 700 bostäder. En väldigt många olika möjligheter till lokaler, kultur, skolor, förskolor och service. Till 2 nya parker och 2 nya torg. Och så bussgaraget. Med det kulturhistoriska arv som finns där. Där vi har stora möjligheter, om vi gör detta riktigt bra, att fylla det med ett superspännande innehåll som gör att vi får känna att det är faktiskt okej att vara jag. Och jag kan pröva mina tankar, jag kan pröva mina verksamheter, jag kan testa nya innovationer. Och mötet mellan andra människor ger mig någonting väldigt speciellt som bara Malmö kan ge. Till att också starta en annan bit av Ungbo-resultatet med kompiskontrakten där vi får en ekonomi som gör att unga faktiskt klarar ett boende. Till båghallarna i sig, där Cirkulationscentralen tillsammans med, bland annat tillsammans då med kulturförvaltningen, jobbar nu för att faktiskt gå i hamn med ett innehåll kring innovation, kreativitet, verkstäder, möten. En väldigt spännande utveckling som jag verkligen ser fram emot att se resultatet av, med de unika förutsättningar som vi bara kan skapa tillsammans. Och om vi då närmar oss det som är Industrigatan, den där nerven genom vårt område från Rosengård och in till centrala Malmö, så är ju frågan om vad är det för mental bild vi har av det här området idag? Och vad är det för mental bild jag vill förflytta mig till? Och hur ser den här gatan ut egentligen? Hur vill vi att den ska fyllas? Hur tar vi oss varann i hand och går på promenad? Det här är ju vad som finns i det här området idag, när vi närmar oss det från centrala Malmö. Och tekniska nämnden har ju tagit beslut om att investera som en första etapp i Industrigatan, tillsammans med att nu ta tag i kvarteret Spårvägen. Det är ett stort arbete som har gjorts med många olika kompetenser och fakulteter för att skapa en gata med breda trottoarer, med joggingspår, med grönska. Och där vi vill att bottenvåningarna, väggarna runt den här gatan, ska spilla ut på gatan och skapa sociala möten mellan oss. Vad vill vi ska hända för aktiviteter på den här gatan? Vad vill vi fylla den med? Det är ni som är där tillsammans och fyller detta. Det här är kanske om 3 år. Som successivt hanterar sig när Eons fastighet på andra sidan kommer till. Om man närmar sig lite längre bort. Man ser båghallarna här. Om ytterligare något år så är vi här framme. Det börjar bli stad, en integrerad del av Malmös innerstad. En social funktion, en kulturarena. Och kanske är det där vi tillsammans kan träffas och fundera på: är det här jag vill fira min jul? Är det här jag vill ta mina vänner? Är det här som är vår nästa regionala mötesplats? Tack så mycket.
So I'm Björn Carnemalm. I'm here to represent Cirkulationscentralen, which is a studio collective in the center of Norra Sorgenfri. Let's go back in history. Soho in the 70s, an area in New York where artists found cheap spaces in industrial complexes, and it turned into a very creative area with little coffee shops and alternative galleries. And I see many similarities with Norra Sorgenfri today, because soon enough, when the area was explored, these galleries turned into Prada stores, and artists had to move to cheaper areas. And there are similar situations today in Norra Sorgenfri, where there are, you mentioned, 300 artists or cultural workers who found their cheap spaces and now fear we have to move when the area is explored. And I've been to several workshops meeting architects and house owners together with fellow artists, and they usually all end up in trench warfare, skyttegravskrig. Where one side is saying, hey, we got to explore this area to be able to build, we need to raise rent, where the artists are saying, well, if you raise rent, we're going away to cheaper areas, Norra Hamnen or Östra Grängesberg. So I've been thinking about this, if it's possible to find a solution, thinking outside of the box. So I said, okay, let's pay market rent. Is that even possible? How do we do that? How do artists pay market rent? Well, one way of doing it is raising turnover, öka omsättning, raising income, and of course, that's not rocket science. If you raise turnover, you can also pay better rent. But how do you raise turnover for artists? Well, I thought about that too. And I guess uniting artists, preparing them better for commissions is one way of doing it. And we've been looking at Busgaraget as a place to do so, with some inspiration from Mink in Malmö and Media Evolution City. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. Media Evolution City is a place where a lot of mid-sized media companies are joined together, and they share mutual spaces for conferences, meeting rooms, and lecture rooms, and everyone have like a single space, a desk or a small office or a small space for themselves. And as I understand, it's been very successful and lucrative for the businesses who are there. So I'm thinking a similar setup for artists at Busgaraget, where 30, 40 artists have their spaces, share meeting rooms, conference rooms, and lecture rooms, like a glass box, a black box, or a white cube, where we also can display art. Connected with a project leader who is there to help artists carry through their projects. A professional project leader, and I'm talking from my own experience there, many times where me and other artists come up with good ideas but have a problem to carry them through because they lack experience from project leading. Well, more or less a mother telling us, have you made that call? Have you gone to that meeting? Setting up a schedule. And doing so, I think it's a better accuracy and easier to fund artistic projects. For example, for Malmö Kulturstöd or anyone else who wants to give scholarships or grants to artists. And also thinking more activities like educational projects, working closer with house owners, mural paintings, public artwork, with workshops at that space. So, in a way, to raise the turnover. I was also hoping that since it's a big space, we can't fill it ourselves, that we can share it with someone working with urban development, city planning, and therefore also having the connection with that enormous network. There's been mentioning that we should bring in design as well, and sure enough, I'm sure there can be some creative collaborations together with designers, but looking at a bigger scale, if you want to raise the bar a little more, I think working with urban development would be more creative. Artists being part of projects from start when it comes to developing cities or urban areas like this. I see some very lucrative commissions coming from that. Let's see, I wrote down something here. Well, so far I have only heard that the city is about to finance this project. I'm hoping that we can bring in some financial muscle from the private sphere, because I think it'd be dumb if the city is the only sponsor for this. So I've been thinking about someone who would benefit from meeting spaces, conference spaces, lecture spaces, the network with urban development and the entire cultural network that we will be able to provide. And I thought of a hotel. Why not place a hotel in Norra Sorgenfri? Like a concept hotel. Imagine sitting in Germany, booking a room in Sweden, where you get hotel room for your business, plus conference room, plus lecture rooms, and a network with artists who are more than willing to sell their services, doing workshops, holding lectures, and such. And also a network with urban development. I think it'd be hard not to book that hotel. And also, again, bringing in business to the culture workers at that place.
My name is Staffan Schmidt. I'm a senior lecturer at K3 here at Malmö Högskola. Björn, there is a shift in the role of the artist, which is really important to talk about here a bit. The artist, you propose that artists enter into planning processes. On what mandate?
I'm not quite sure I understand your question. Why would we not be part of? Why should we not be part of planned processes?
I think you should, but I think you have to reflect. Artists need to reflect about the change in the role, because, of course, the city is developed according to political plans, ideas. There are people voting on representatives. And then someone else enters into this process and proposes things to be changed. It means that you take part in the political process as an artist. It's different from not having sort of such a deep influence on how the city will look in the future. So I think it's important that artists also talk about these things.
Yes, I agree with you, and I'm certainly hoping that artists will, with this concept, come in a better position when we negotiate together with the city. Being there from the beginning instead of coming in later in the process will also not only be more lucrative, it'll also help us be better part of the whole process, of course, and also being put in a different position, like you're saying, like a different political position, basically more power.
Another thing to follow that one up is that, would you say that it's so important for you that you will be placed in this development process? I mean, being at the space, working at the space which is being developed.
If it's important for me to...
Yeah, as an artist, that you are actually situated in the area that is being developed, that you take part in that development at the time it's being
I think it's important. I think it's... I'd rather be part of the exploration than being a victim of it, being a victim of gentrification, which I fear that many artists will be in Norra Sorgenfri. Therefore, this is not a way of meeting Alliansens need for putting culture workers in work. This is a way of uniting artists, I think. Quite the contrary, actually.
Thanks.
Well, I think you put... Is this on? Yeah. I think you put the finger on a very important question here, how to collaborate without being co-opted, as I understand. That's the question that was raised here. Maybe I could turn to Clara, because you have been working in the middle as a mediator between the city, the university, but also with the civil society, I would like to say. What is your perspective on this, and what is your reflection?
Thank you very much for a very nice presentation. Thank you, Felicia, sound engineer. Thank you for a very nice presentation from both of you, very interesting. Yes, ISU is coordinating the political mandate that we have been assigned to evaluate culture as a fourth dimension within urban sustainable development. And it is a collaboration between the cultural department and K3, which is a department within the university, design faculty. And also we have been meeting a lot with Björn and other artists within Norra Sorgenfri, and we have done some kind of a mapping where we realized that there are actually 350 cultural entrepreneurs, I would say, or entrepreneurs is probably the best word because they are their own boss. And within cultural entrepreneurs, I would say it's artists, contemporary artists, photographers, musicians, record companies, industrial designers. It's so many. So it's not only contemporary artists that we have been visiting within this process. I think that your ideas are very interesting, and I also think that I would like to go to such a hotel if I would go to a city. But what I'm thinking is this context of talking about being able to pay for market price, and thereby you have to raise your income. And then I'm thinking, are we willing to pay more for culture? Because it would be that we have to pay more for culture for artists to be able to raise their income. And who is it that will pay for this culture? With this society having more and more problems with economy, not maybe not Sweden, but more and more over the world, and we say consume less material, consume more culture. I think that it's very important also what you say, this thing of collaboration with the artists, with urban developers, with other businesses. And I think that if I would have been Ferdinand Richard now here, who is working very much with culture, but also on micro businesses and macro businesses, and he also works with incubators, and he is very eager to say that it must not only be culture in one building, it must be a lot of different kind of companies, so that you can meet your neighbor. Maybe I work with media, and I need an artist for my project that I have right now. I think that it's very important to understand that culture will always be a part of the chain within a business. So I think that it's important to look at this meeting spot in Norra Sorgenfri as a landscape, production landscape, or business landscape, but also culture, but to not exclude other people that work with other stuff. If we are to talk about the possibility for the artists to make some more money, so that they can be involved in different kind of processes because of that meeting spot. So yeah, that was a long thought.
Reflection on what was said. Yeah. Josephine, do you want to look?
I think it's the essence of just the incubator and the idea of Bussgaraget, and also the blocks surrounding. And if you share space, you also together get a lower rent. So I think we all in this project have the same idea around that.
I think that Josephine was, yeah, that's perfect. I was just thinking that Josephine really invited you all to come on reflections and your dreams and ideas about Norra Sorgenfri. So that would be good. Yes, please.
Yes, I have a question. You seem to be discussing culture a lot, kind of around artists or cultural expressions. Well, in Maria's introduction, I felt that at least part of her introduction dealt with culture in a much broader sense, kind of our shared values or common norms and habits. So how would you relate this discussion to the more broader sense of culture?
Does anybody want to start to answer this question? Yes, please.
I believe it's also a democracy process about people taking part of society and connect to each other and discuss what kind of life do we want to have in our city and what kind of meetings when we come together and what kind of discussions we have. And also that the structures that we build in the city can connect people or disconnect people. And for example, when we have a dialogue with our inhabitants around should we have or should we not have tram trains, we really try to have a process where we meet people in our squares, in our streets, and in different places to discuss what's important for you in your daily life and where will we interact with each other. When we are in Sevid and we are trying to develop, for example, Bryggeriet, we have a model where you can be involved and say, this is important for me, this is the volume so I want to have, this is activities or the contents I need for my daily life. So I believe to be a part of society, you also have to be a part of democracy and a part of taking your role in developing our city.
Clara?
I can also answer on that because Maria is a part of this evaluation, this political mandate. She is a part of K3, so that is actually a part of the work that she has been presenting now. So it is being taken into concern. So just for that to be clear.
Björn, do you want to add something? Or? No. Okay, then we have a question there. Welcome. And please introduce yourself as well.
My name is Eva Vendelbo. I come from Denmark. I'm engaged in urban development there as a practitioner and an artist. And I'm curious on a more practical level. So how do the two of you work together? Like how is the process and what are the challenges? And what do you wish for the future? How do you want the process to become better, for example?
Well, hopefully I made clear what I wish for the future. Right now I'm on a commission from Kulturförvaltningen to process these ideas and present them in a better form than I just did to you. And then it's, I guess, up to you to decide what parts to pick and what parts to leave out.
If I will follow up, Norra Sorgenfri is a project where all our different departments in the municipality come together. And we have very high ambitions about this cooperation where our culture department, our real estate department, our urban planning is all come together. And therefore, we are really connected, and I see Magnus over here, and he is one of very near in our project, and Björn has this study within the project through Magnus, has a very big role in how to develop these contents in this building. And we all have this goal to really make this happen.
We have a question over there. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is William, and I'm a cultural analyst. Thank you for a very interesting and inspiring presentation. I think it's super exciting what it could be in Norra Sorgenfri. I'm really interested in both the role of the artist, and I'm sure by artist we mean a whole range of interests. And I'm interested in how this, whether you've reflected or what forms of policy making there have been in this process, that, rather than the artist sort of being aligned as an entrepreneur or so with a sort of lucrative output, as rather that people sort of having creative interest could be protected in some way through forms of policy making, and whether people had any kind of, whether these groups existing there currently are interested in developing those alongside. And perhaps this is something that's happening, but I think that maybe it's be interesting to go from the other angle, rather that it could be an interesting political process as well.
Sure. Usually when we have tried to solve these problems before, it's been mentioned grants, scholarships, reduced rent for artists, writing contracts with house owners, like 5 years contract with low rent. And I believe, well, to a certain extent, that is good, but in the long run, it will not work. Handouts are not a pensionable income. Reduced rent is not a pensionable income. Therefore, I've been looking for other means instead to raise income than being able to remain in Norra Sorgenfri with handouts. But of course, some of our activities will need public funding, like for example, alternative galleries, where people shouldn't work for free, and I don't see admission fees to galleries as a solution. So it should be well, I guess there are several discussions on what level should be funded with from ourselves, from our own work, raised turnovers, to what should be financed with public funding.
I think it's a variety that is needed. It's not black and white. I think you have to have both.
Yeah.
I think that is a very important question that you are raising. I also think that in Norra Sorgenfri, I think that it's important to look at the artists or the cultural entrepreneurs as stakeholders and also the first investors. Not maybe the first, but they are investors of the area, and they are the force that's been making the area interesting for people. It's some kind of a mysticism around the area. And I also think that what you have said is important, that not everybody can be a commercial artist, and handouts is bad, but I think that Sweden wouldn't have had so much music export that we have if we wouldn't have had A-kassa. Looking at the Cardigans, the Hives, all the big artists, I don't say that it's good, but I think that it's important to understand the role of somebody working for culture. And something that interests me, which I totally don't have an answer, is where does the line go between gentrification, good gentrification, and bad gentrification? Where is the limit Where is it a driving force, and where does it become that, okay, now all of us that made this area interesting have to move? How do you make sure in this kind of process that the artists doesn't involve themselves in a process where they later realize that they have been taking part in putting a program or a concept for an area that they can no longer be a part of because the market prices has gone up? I don't have an answer for that, but I think that it is an interesting thing to think about.
Clara, may I ask you? I know what bad gentrification is, but what is good gentrification?
Good gentrification is maybe not a very smart thing to say, but where there is a possibility for change to occur, for example, for Norra Sorgenfri, where people actually do want to move in, people do want to invest in building schools and walk in the night in Industrigatan without being afraid, because there has been some kind of a change in the area in terms of building and services and cafes. But then it comes to an end where, for example, now in London, this amazing place in East London that has to close down because they don't have the funds anymore. They can't put up with the market price, but they have been there for 10 years and being an inspiration for the development of the area. And like Palmyra that is closing down in Möllevången after, I think it was 38 years and in the area, and now there is a restaurant and bar coming in, then maybe the good gentrification or the development has come to the other point of change in an area. Because when the change is positive, it means more people, more diversity, more opportunities to interact, and maybe for you to sell art because more people will come to your gallery. But where does that limit go when it's no longer good for people like yourself? Yeah.
Yes, Josephine.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for all your questions, but a reflection may be that Norra Sorgenfri is a very large area, and it's a ongoing development on a very long time. So it's not from one day to another that this will happen. It comes very on long term, and I think it's, for that matter, also interesting that Bussgaraget is a building which the municipality own. That means that we also have one type of rent. We have, even though we have community laws and we should have a market rent, we decide over the building. And we have also a lot of different real estate owners that could do other buildings that they can also use for this matter. And I believe that the culture is a connection. What you talk about is the new things that we can do, that we can connect to each other, and change on that matter can be something that we really don't have in the past, that we combine different people and meet and do things outside the box, that we really don't know what it is. And we can decide and test together, where some who is in one company can come together with someone like you and do something none of you ever done before. So it gives also some opportunities. And cardigans is one that really started not in a garage, but in a building like this,
you want to reply to that or no?
No, I fully agree.
Okay. Then we have some more questions. We have one question over there, so please.
Hello, my name is Jytte Hammenskog and I have been living in this city since I was 5. So I think I can say like this now. We like in this city, I think, new and brave ideas. So we like to have a house like Turning Torso. We like to go skateboarding in the left harbor. And we like an international football player. And when I listen to you, which is very interesting, I can't find something. It's more like very cozy. So don't you want to build a house who looks like an angry animal or something? What is the identity of this new part of Malmö? If I am a coffee drinker and like to go by bicycle and like to have allotment plots around me, what more? It's very nice to have all these artists and go and drink coffee, and I don't know the whole idea here. But is there something strange? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Looking like angry birds.
Yeah,
No, I'm just joking. I understand. And I think I hand over to the developer.
Well, the shape of the building, I guess, is something that we can work together with the architects there. And if it's up to me, I could ensure you that it would be very exciting and inspirational building sticking out from the rest of anything else you've ever seen. But it's not up to me. I can also assure you that the activity being displayed there or happening there will stick out. And I think this experiment with artists working together with urban development and such also will be like a center or a hub or a cluster which will differ from many other studio collectives around the world. It'll be a very creative meeting point for both people within culture and outside.
Thank you. We have a question over there.
Okay, hello, my name is Per Möller from Malmö Högskola. It seems like a recurrent theme is about content, that not only artists are supposed to produce some kind of content to the platform provided by the city of Malmö. In this case, not only the buildings, for example, like Bussgaragen, but also the city as such has become some kind of platform that we all want to have some kind of content produced too. And we're all invited as fellow citizens to produce content to the visions and the streets and the parks and so on and so forth. But I would just like to say something about that. I find it a bit disturbing to see culture as a word of harmony, constantly a word of harmony, that culture is always good in some sense, despite if we have the narrow definition of the world as art or the broader as a whole way of life. As we all know, we have different cultures in this city. And I would just like to hear something about culture, not in harmony with each other, but actually in conflict to each other. What about content that is not in line with the vision of Norra Sorgenfri? What about content that expresses somebody's vision about Malmö who's not in line with someone else? And for one thing, for example, I don't agree that we should have an identity built on a twisted big house in this city. So we have different opinions about things. I would just like to hear something about potential conflicts in the area, in the future of the area.
Well, if we have a gallery there or artistic activities, I really hope that we will be able to present some disharmonic art to you. And I think if this turns into more of a like mainstream building, mainstream activity, no offense, Fatsarhuset, it will die pretty soon. I'm hoping this will be an experimental place, and therefore I'm also suggesting that we bring in other parts to collaborate with than just with the city. There I find some ways of turning it to more of an experimental place, more of a disharmonic place.
Would that be possible to have sort of artists there who maybe are very, very critical to what the city does? Would there be room for this kind of conflicts as well within such an area?
I think if everybody have the same idea or the same thought, it's very boring. The dynamic is when we come together and we have different perspectives and we together can come to a new thought that we didn't have before. That's when we come outside the box. And I think Malmö as a city is really the contents of a lot of different spaces and a lot of new flavors, and that's why it's so interesting to be here. And I hope that this area in the city would be that too.
I think we had a question over there. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Jenny, and I'm a master student at Urban Sustainable Development. And I would like to follow up on Josephine's discussion about involving the citizens in the process. And I've been studying the detailed plan of Kvarter Spårvägen, and I was very interested in your view about, because you're talking about to think about outside the box and doing different things, but the detailed plan is looking very much like all the other detailed plans. There are no spaces left for the people that move in to create or do different things on. Everything is decided beforehand. And I also read that at the last public meeting, 2 people attended. So, and all the people that have been involved are developers, architects, but no citizens. So what is going to make Kvarter Spårvägen different from, for example, Western Harbour, when the citizens of Malmö can't have a say on it?
Well, the area Spårvägen, that block in the whole Norra Sorgenfri is one of the few places where the municipality owns land, and the municipality has therefore a great cooperation with a lot of different investors. For otherwise it won't be any buildings there. But it's rather interesting, the detailed plan, because, or the buildings, because it's really the diversity or the variety or the small buildings and the small land that each builder gets is very complicated, and therefore you get a possibility to have different kind of ideas around the blocks within it. And if you have what we now have as squares or parks, is for really that you say that you can use it, you can take it and develop it and have temporary activities there. If we are able to maintain housing for many people, we have to connect with the real estate owners. But if you're asking about the democracy process, it's really a very long process where we have had a lot of different workshops and dialogues through time from from the year of 2006 and today. So it's a very long process, and where we have had a lot of different discussions with our inhabitants through time. And I believe that we have also a very large need of continuing that dialogue with our inhabitants.
Okay, I think we have quite a few questions now. There was one over here first. Yes, please.
It kind of goes a bit hand in hand. My name is Julia, and I work with an urban gardening project in Lund. We've been talking about artists' perspective and citizens' perspective. But I'm curious, did you have a reference group with people who represented what we are talking about as culture? Because now it seems that it's artists, whatever that means. But do you have people from, for example, civil society, NGOs, study associations, like other representatives which are working somehow with culture? Police, maybe. Like, yeah, just a broader perspective, not the individual citizen and not the individual collective artist, but other representatives of people involved with culture.
I guess that's a question for Josephine as well. Or?
Can you? Yeah. What can you tell your question again?
Yes, when you embarked on this process, and we're talking about culture today, and I agree with your comment that culture in the broader sense, not just an artist, I mean organizations or people or study associations working with culture, are they involved in this process from the start? Or how come you chose to collaborate with a collective of artists? Was that like a selection?
Are you in Båghallarna or in the whole project?
In the whole project.
In the whole project, okay. Through time, there has been a lot of different dialogues and workshops from in 2008, when you did the whole program, we had a lot of effort to connect with all kinds of people and organizations to what ingredients and guidelines should be in this program. So I think Malmö has a very long tradition of working together with our citizens around our development in that time, but it's very long processes. So therefore, when we come to this point in this block, in this area, it's difficult to take all that information and see it as a citizen. So that's a problem we have to deal with, and also it's important to therefore continue the dialogue. What have been said before, where are we now, and what can we take along on in the future?
Yes, but my question is, who is the dialogue with now, for example? You have these open citizen meetings, it sounds like, but so there's no reference group?
No, not today. Like a focus group, if you ask, it's that your question, if it's a focus group or...
Yes, what I'm trying to get at is, yes, who gets to carry the voice of the culture representatives? Because now we see the representative of the artist collective as being part of this culture. So I'm curious, has there been a broader view? And I'm not talking about the individual citizen. I'm talking about different representatives in the civil society for culture. If you understand my question.
I think that the question is very interesting, and I think that that is also what we are here for. When can culture take part in a development process, and who represents the culture? And there has been workshops last year, but that is focusing on the bus garage. That has been an initiative from the cultural department to collect with different people in Norra Sorgenfri, not organizations, but it has been a little bit focused on artists, because there are so many artists. So, and also you cannot force anybody to come to a meeting. You can do an open invitation, and then it's more or less up to who is interested to come. So it has been done, but it is organized by the cultural department.
Okay. We had a question over there.
Hello, my name is Anders, and I'm an architect living here in Malmö. And I had a question that sort of relates to a small town gentrification, because I don't know if you are familiar with Jönköping, where they have a similar project with redeveloping an old industrial area, the old match factories, and they have taken the city has taken a very aggressive role in sort of weeding out which cultural organizations and activities that are desirable and that are sort of something positive according to the city. And I wonder, especially if that is an approach that might happen here in Norra Sorgenfri, and also especially if you start projects where artists get more beholden to the city, if you're worried about that. And I know, for example, I don't know exactly the story, but for places like Utkanten that are more sort of fringe cultural have shut down as part of this process. And I wonder if you are worried about that sort of weeding and sorting process at all. Thank you.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
If you compare Norra Sorgenfri to the match factory area in Jönköping, the difference is that the match factory area, the buildings are, the real estate owner is the municipality. Therefore, the municipality has the role of who I want to have renting my buildings. You have that part of the role, and in Norra Sorgenfri we have I think it's 36, 38 different real estate owners who have that role. So therefore, for us as a municipality, the bussgaraget and båghallarna is very important, because there we have a leading role, and therefore it's very important to have a very good connection and contents to your question there. But also to have to take and hold on to the dialogue with all the other real estate owners within the whole area, so more will be aware of this question, and also do the same jobs in their own buildings and have this thought with them, and so we can have a bigger area with this type of work.
But should they work for the weeding and sorting or against it?
Once again, I can't hear you.
But do you want them to work for the weeding and sorting or against it?
For the, what you said, for your...
So my main question is if about this, the sort of sorting of like acceptable cultural expressions that they have been doing in Jönköping, if you find that positive or negative. Like, it's some work that they are doing, but is it, like, would you want them to expand and accept broader types of culture, or do you find the sorting that I was referring to a positive and good thing?
Okay, I think if it's a rather question of to take the dynamic and so it's allowed to be different in this area, and if we can make this happen in a greater way in the whole area, it would be fantastic.
Okay. I think there will be an ongoing discussion for a long time. We will have one more final question before we take a lunch break.
Yeah.
Two.
My name is Camilla, and I'm an MA student in Curriculum Studies Material Culture in Copenhagen. And for me, this plan seems very neat and clean. And how can you put culture and art into a system like this? You wanted to have people meet on corners and create spaces between buildings, but if you plan too much, you will attract a certain kind of people and maybe not the people you want to attract. You can look at Berlin, where every street corner is where culture and artists meet, and you can look at Copenhagen. All they did in the city was to set a bench on a bridge, and now everybody's there drinking coffee, beer, happening without, having all these big plans. Are you not afraid that this seems too new and too clean for the people or the group of people you want to come there, and that you will lose some major focus group by planning all this?
I think you have to take the long time of this development with you and connect to the culture map. Because I think these rough areas that your questions is about, they will be there and will be there for a very long time, and this is really waiting for you to use it. So if this picture, for example, is one of the spots in that map where it's already possible for you to use them.
Yeah, but that's not really what I meant. I meant that something will get lost if you renew everything, and you have a cooperation with some artists. And I'm not meaning that commercial artists is not okay. It's just it feels too planned. And you told in your presentation you wanted people to meet in between buildings and the ground floors, and you have cafes everywhere. You have galleries around the city. What is special about this? Why will this attract people when it's kind of this new place?
Yeah.
May I just cut in?
I just want to say that cafe latte culture isn't the way.
I'm pretty sure we'll not be the only gallery space or artistic space in the area. There are, we're saying 300 artists working in the area now, and I'm talking about a place for 30 or 40 artists. And I'm really hoping that the other studio collectives also will remain and set up a similar situation for them. But what I've been talking about here is, I think there is a common idea that as soon as finance and economy is involved, it dilutes the art scene or the artists' expressions, making them more mainstream. I'm hoping it won't, it doesn't. Cirkulationscentralen now, I believe, is considered still to be an alternative space, and I'm hoping we will remain alternative even when we move to Busgaraget. At least our expression, our artistic expression, will be considered alternative rather than mainstream. And if I get a position there, I'll certainly try to qualify and make sure that it remains so. But like I said, I'm hoping there will be other initiatives around in Sorgenfri that will also guarantee the images you try to post with street corner art and such.
Thank you. Now we have the final question. Yes, please.
Okay, my name is Anna. I just finished my thesis and wrote about social material learning in urban renewal, and where my aim was to look at the citizens' perspective, because when you think of like my with students was talking about where does the citizens is allowed to participate in this renewal and in this development when they come to these meetings and get some information and come with their ideas and so on. But they need some education, I think, because most citizens don't participate in these meetings and in the development. And where can they form their city and be a part of giving this place a new identity or their identity, where they want to come, not just as a temporary activity, but for a long time, and where they can think back on their memories with these special places, and where they can come back in the future as well. So I think it's about much is about the learning process, and to think of the citizens, how they feel they are a part of this process, and not only think of the artists that forms a city life, but the people that live there actually, and the life between buildings.
Does anybody want to reply?
Yeah, I think it's very good that you take up this question, and it's something that we have in our project. We have a communication group, and also that we really have to take care of this question that you have, and we have that in the past in the dialogues and programs and workshops, but we have to continue doing it, and we have to also take it to the next step, just like you put out. Last year we also had a lot of walking together, historical and future walks that we did together with all kind of different inhabitants and organizations, and who would like to come through the area. So you also could point out these places and discuss what have been here before, and where are we today, and what do you want to do tomorrow. And they were very, I thought that a lot of people thought that kind of meeting, walking through the area, was a good method. So there is a lot of new methods and new ideas around how we have that type of dialogue. So we have to keep up through the process. So I point out Sebastian, and he will take that with him to the organization.
Thank you very much. I think that this morning, Maria Hellström, she asked us to discuss on that we need to look into the process of how culture has entered urban development. And I think that has been very much what we focused on right now, actually. And I think it's also quite clear what the worries are about representation, and about who is allowed in and who will not be able to be there, and what this will bring to the city as a whole. So thank you all for a very interesting morning here on such a stormy day. Thank you. Give a warm applause to everybody.